Why are you still carrying that? Not a joke, said out loud. Whole line heard it. I looked down, Glock 19 on my hip like nothing ever changed. Then he goes, man, people moved on. You're still on that? I almost fired back. Then I looked around. Different holsters, different grips, range bench full of guns that weren't Glocks, instructor, not running one either. That's when it hit. They just replaced it. Same 9mm, same job, just better fits, better control, easier carry right in front of me. And I'm standing there defending something nobody else is even choosing anymore. That part didn't sit right. So this isn't about whether Glock failed. It's about what took its place. Because in 2026, these 9mm pistols didn't just compete. They took over. And one of them, that's the one that pushed mine out without asking. I didn't bring the X Macro to test it. I brought it to shut it down. Glock 19 went first. Same boring confidence. It runs, it works, it doesn't surprise you. That's why people carried it for years. You never had to think. That used to matter more than anything. Then I picked up the X Macro. Not carefully, not respectfully. I was waiting for it to prove the point. Smaller gun, smaller performance. That trade-off always shows up. This time it didn't. It carried easier. That part I expected. What I didn't expect was not missing anything. Control stayed there. Follow-ups didn't fall apart. It didn't feel like a backup gun trying to keep up. And that's where the Glock started looking bad. Because now, the size isn't buying you anything. It's just extra width, extra bulk. Something you've been tolerating because nothing forced you to question it. That's the shift in 2026. Smaller guns aren't giving things up anymore. They're taking the same role and doing it without the penalty. Yeah, the X Macro isn't perfect. That longer grip still prints if you're not paying attention. But that's a smaller problem than carrying a thicker gun for no reason. Look around now. You'll see more of these than before. People aren't arguing about Glock anymore. They're just not picking it. And once that starts happening, the Glock 19 doesn't look like the safe answer. It looks outdated. It was early June, one of those brutal Texas days where the heat hits you the second you step out of the truck. Small, private range. Same group of guys I've seen for years. Most of them Glock carriers. The kind that don't debate it, they just run it and move on. One of them shows up with a PX4 Storm. Didn't fit, looked outdated, bulky slide, weird system. I wrote it off immediately. Figured it was one of those guns people hang on to out of habit. We got into it. Long session, heat wearing everyone down. Hands slipping, grip getting sloppy. Not Klein shooting anymore. That's when it showed up. One of the older guys, Glock guy, solid shooter, runs the PX4. No commentary, no performance talk. Then he just goes, I keep coming back to this. That line stuck. Because when I actually paid attention, it made sense. The Glock snaps. It's abrupt. It wants you locked in. The PX4 doesn't. It rolls through it. Not pretty, just easier to keep under control when your grip isn't perfect and your hands are done. And that's where it flipped. That simple Glock feel everyone trusts. Yeah, that starts working against you when things get messy. Nobody argued, nobody defended Glock. They just didn't reach for it. Yeah, PX4's got issues. Support's thinner, holsters, parts, you feel it. And it still looks like something people skip over. Doesn't matter. Because it wins in the one place Glock starts slipping. When you're not perfect. But what came after that one didn't just handle better. It made the Glock feel old the second you picked it up. That shop in my town, the big one everybody goes to, they've got a routine. You walk in, ask for a handgun, and before you finish your sentence, Glock 19 is already on the counter. Not because it's exciting, because it's safe. I watched it happen again a few months back. Kid walks in, first serious carry gun, little nervous, trying not to sound clueless. Counter guy slides him the Glock. He picks it up, nods, gives that polite, yeah, this works look, not sold. Just accepting it. Then the guy behind the counter does something different. No speech, no pitch. He reaches under, pulls out a Walter PDP compact, and hands it over. Everything changed right there. The kid grips it and pauses. Not long, just enough, presses the trigger once. And his face gives it away before he says anything. that little shift. That's the part Glock doesn't survive, because nobody had to explain anything. No, you'll get used to it. No, this is how it's supposed to feel. It just made sense immediately. That's the problem in 2026. People aren't buying safe anymore. They're buying what feels right the second it hits their hand. And the Glock, it still works, still reliable. But now it feels like something you adapt to, not something built for you. Yeah, the PDP is not perfect. Taller slide, not as bulletproof of an ecosystem. But that doesn't save Glock at the counter, because the moment that PDP hits your hand, you realize how long you've been settling. Elbows, shoulders, people squeezing past. Space got tight real fast. I was already inside, boxed in near a bodies sliding. Nobody had time to pass to me, closer than, and right there, felt it. Not digging, drifting, just there. The CZP didn't stay in the background. It stepped forward, not exposed. Nobody saw anything, but it stopped feeling invisible. I adjusted without thinking, shifted slightly, gave it space, was making room for it without meaning to. That's what caught me. Because now I was aware of it and couldn't be. Nothing dramatic happened, but I couldn't ignore it either. And that's not what I want from a CCW. Out in the open, moving normally is manageable. But in tighter, when you're bending a little, turning, people getting close, it starts to show up you expect. Not not obvious, visible. And once it crosses that line, it doesn't fear again. Walk away, still feeling it there, the moment's over. Yeah. The reason you tolerate that is because shoot it. The P10C feels more planned, smaller carry guns. That's the trade with a compact like this. The next one does to it like this. It hits you with it right away. Fully disappear again. Feeling it there, even after the moment's over. Recently, I stopped by an old gunsmith I've known for years. Didn't plan anything. He already had a Grand Power K100 sitting there, completely taken apart on the bench. I almost walked past it. Looked like one of those weird European guns that never really mattered. The kind you ignore because nothing about it screams, "This is what people are switching to." He didn't explain it, just said, "Rack it slow." So I did, and it felt wrong immediately. The barrel didn't dip, didn't drop, it rotated. I stopped, did it again, same thing, again. Every Glock I've ever handled moves the same way. You don't question it. That's just how pistols work, except it's not. This one doesn't follow that rule at all. And later, when I actually shot it, that difference showed up. It didn't snap and reset the same way. It stayed flatter than I expected. Not better, not smoother, just different. I asked him why anyone would bother with something like this when Glock already figured it out. He didn't even look up, because they didn't figure everything out. That's it. This isn't replacing Glock. It's exposing that Glock was just one way to do it, and not the only one anymore. And once that door opened, the Glock 19 stopped being the standard. But the next one didn't need a different system. It stayed simple and still made people pick it over Glock. He didn't even look up M and P 2.0 compact. Just like that. No pitch, no explanation. No, depends what you want. It came out like he was naming a battery or a tire. Something you grab because it works and you're done thinking about it. That's what bothered me. It didn't sound like he picked it. It sounded like it was already picked. I visited a cop buddy out in Nevada right after Christmas. Everything had that dry, worn-out winter feel. His place was quiet, no range day, no testing, just his duty belt dumped near the wall, old range bag slouched next to it like it hadn't moved in days. Real life. No performance theater. I asked him again, pushed a little. He just shrugged, said it runs, fits more people without a fight. Enough support that you're not stuck. Then he moved on. That's when it hit me. Glock didn't lose an argument. It got skipped. Nobody was defending it. Nobody was even bringing it up. That old safe answer slot, it's not empty. It's taken. Yeah, Glock still wins on parts, mags. All that infrastructure. That's still real. But that's not what people reach for first anymore. And that's worse. Because when something stops being the automatic answer, it doesn't feel like a loss. It feels normal. And that's how a crown actually disappears. The last one, though, nobody even took it seriously at first, until it started doing something Glock never even tried. Keys digging into my palm, trying to lock the door with my elbow because my hands were full. Phone buzzing. Late already. I walk back inside for the Glock 19 without thinking. Same spot it's always been. That routine's been automatic for years. Grab it, holster, go. I picked it up and paused. Didn't make sense. Nothing was wrong. Same weight, same feel. But my hand didn't move. The Hellcat Pro sat a few inches over. I'd left it there the night before after cleaning it. Didn't even plan to carry it. It wasn't calling me. It just didn't feel like a backup anymore. That's what threw me. I'm standing there, keys in my hand, comparing. Since when do I compare? Glock used to skip that part. It was the answer before the question finished. Now I'm running through reasons like it matters. Nothing failed. Nothing changed overnight. But that automatic reach, gone. That's when it got uncomfortable. It didn't lose in some test. It just stopped being the thing I grabbed without thinking. I picked up the Hellcat, stepped out, locked the door, didn't go back for the Glock that used to bother me. This time, it didn't. The Hellcat Pro gave me enough capacity, enough grip, enough real control without carrying like the old compact standard. That's what Glock never had to answer before, but now it does, and that's the shift. Glock still works. It just doesn't decide for me anymore. So those are the I right now I'm in trust when things don't go your way. Not the most hyped, not the most expensive, just the ones that didn't quit when everything else started forward. Plenty of reliable guns didn't make it here. One failure, one bad moment under pressure, and they were done. No chances. Because when it matters, it doesn't care what it believed in. Here's the part that still bothers me. That last gun formed everything on this. Cleaner, no excuses. Maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe that's exactly you shouldn't ignore. I'm Steve. You trust, just know you did decision twice.